那这尊佛像呢是毗卢遮那佛啊，我们汉译叫大日如来啊，它是法身佛，是佛的绝对真理的意思。本来这个真理呢是看不见摸不着的，那如果要非得给它塑成一尊像的话，那就是这个样子。
Hello guys, I'm Faye. Welcome to my channel. I just picked up my sister Emily. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
哎呀，好黑哟、真的好黑哟、你近点了，嘟嘟。
正点儿，看不清楚吗？你还看见我的脸？
是有点黑哈。
不行，我得，
啊
，fine。
，fine。
你打个光吗？
打个光好像也看不清嘛。OK, that's fine， 就这样了。So today we're gonna to head up to Beijing, the capital of China. Actually, we have been Beijing for a lot of time, but this time we got to find something special, interesting, and we're gonna to meet Emily's friend. Your friend's name? 你的朋友名字叫啥来着？你的朋友的名字叫什么来着
？Howard.
Howard.
对
Howard. Howard. Oh yeah, Howard. And we just meet Emily's friends Heaven, Cuba, from Cuba. Yeah, because Emily just graduated from Cuba and she can speak Spanish very well. Do you want to say Spanish? Do you want to say something Spanish? 你想用？
让我来吃饭。
Okay, she's just eating the breakfast. Yeah, and because today, now we are getting to the Tianjin station, so we have to get up so early, and but we have prepared for the breakfast, and okay, that's all. We will today we're gonna to explore something, and I will show you what it looks like.
知道吗？
行，没事，您弄您的，我就
我给你拿饼。
哦，拿饼，拿饼。
我给你加点要辣的吗？
不要辣的。
啊，不要辣啊。来的也来了哈。
行。土豆丝是吧？
对，土豆丝豆粉。
嗯。
来点孜然。老板，我一会儿再回。
谢谢。
我来个。
啊？
我来个烧饼里脊。对，
烧饼里脊。
嗯，行。我一会儿快给吧。
那你快给吧。We finally made it to Beijing. Wow, actually the high speed is really quick, really fast. From Tianjin to Beijing, it takes only 20 to 30 minutes. And then we we took a subway and why 你为什么笑？
没有，
Yeah.
做得非常好
Yeah, took
，very good.
Yes, and I don't know why today the subway is really crowded. Today is a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So why? I don't know.
Because in Beijing, always
Crowd.
always that's
Okay, maybe yeah, the capital of the China, and now we're gonna to
temple.
temple. Yeah, the what's the name of the temple? 叫什么名字来着？智化寺。
See,
Yeah, the
yeah.
智化寺吗？ Yeah, the 智化 temple. And I'm gonna to hoop in and out of the temples, and I will show you what it looks like. Guys, we made it to Zhihua Temple. It is in a hidden location and is also such a quiet temple tucked away in a bunch of hutongs. So it's really hard to find it if you don't use the navigation software. But I think it is just such a great spot to visit quietly, especially in this bustling and noisy Beijing. The ticket is 20 yuan each. We have already bought the tickets online in advance. As we were walking through, this temple looks smaller than I thought it would be. But there are ancient buildings and cultural relics from the Ming Dynasty in it. And also ancient Beijing music performances that have been passed down all the way to now. It's really something special. Zhihua Temple was built by Wang Zhen, an eunuch back in the early Ming Dynasty. You know, the name of this temple actually means using the wisdom of the Buddha to educate people. It's kind of interesting when you think about it, right? Its geographical location is really quite interesting. It's located to the east of the Forbidden City, and it's right on a straight line with the Taihe Hall, which is like the very center of the Forbidden City. So experts have guessed that this temple probably also had a function of praying for blessings for the emperor. Well, since it was influenced by the royal court, the buildings followed royal temple standards, with black glazed tiles like in the Ming Dynasty, and its architectural style inherits the features of the Tang and Song dynasties, with white eaves. What's interesting is that the weight of the whole roof is all concentrated on the pillars around, and the walls don't bear any of that weight at all. It's kind of cool when you think about it, how they designed it like that way back then. As we were walking through, there's a Sakyamuni Buddha in the front center. On his right is Brahma, on his left is Indra, like Buddha's guidance. And those small drawers and bookcases all around here, they are used for storing scriptures. The patterns and textures on the clothes of the statues were hand-carved and colored with mineral pigments. You can see that they still look really bright even up to now. I also noticed a large throne of the Buddha in the middle. It must be wood-carved. The petals are carved so weirdly that it looks like a real blooming lotus. It's so amazing and just so cool. Look carefully here. The main structure, ceilings, windows, all the decorations inside the temple, and even the sculptures cabinets, they were all carved from wood by those ancient artisans. It's just so hard to imagine how amazing their technical level was, and how much hard work and sweat they put into it.
轮藏啊，这个转轮藏呢，它实际上是一个八边形，下边有个须弥座汉白玉的。那它这个汉白玉呢，这一面呢风化严重，不太好看了。但是我们要看这边往后看，它的雕刻还非常的栩栩如生，包括这个刻的那个佛八宝，轮罗伞盖花冠鱼肠那佛八宝，每一边都有，非常好看。哎，对，就是这个，我们可以看到，这就是那海螺，是吧？我们看一不摸的啊，这是那个法轮，就是都可以在这儿能找得到这个轮罗伞盖花冠鱼肠。所谓的佛八宝，那我们看这个转轮藏这个上面呢，它八边形呢，每一边呢，它实际上都有个拱券门，这个拱券门上面是六拿具，叫六拿具。六拿具呢，是因为这上面雕的，我们现在能看到的，像这些动物啊，或者是人之类的，这个我们可以看到，它原来就翻译过来的时候，它都叫什么什么拿。其实上它是从日文又转译过来的，都叫什么什么拿。像中间这个挥着翅膀那个大鹏金翅，这叫加僧拿。它两边的那个龙女叫那罗拿，然后脚部上有一个卷着鼻子的，能看到吧？嘴里吐着个宝相花，就在柱子顶上，就这个地方。就是这个都是啊，哎，对啊，这是布罗拿啊，它然后实际上是摩羯。
这是口吐莲花吗？是这意思吗？
相当于这意思吧，我们管它叫宝相花啊，宝相花。然后下边我们把那金刚让过去，这不是属于六拿具里边的啊，这就是羊了。这儿有一个羊啊，然后波罗拿这个加僧拿、那罗拿、波罗拿，这是波罗拿啊，这是羊是布罗拿，然后是弗罗拿、旧罗拿，一个狮子一个大象，他们呢都叫什么什么拿，所以就通称叫六拿具。我们也可以理解为六灵捧座。这六灵捧座。
There's a little Buddha statue hiding at the top of the sculpture depository. You can only see it from a certain angle. The tour guide told us that the lower shrine of this Buddha statue is inlaid with really thin gold threads, and the craftsmanship is super complicated. Since it's hiding up there on the top and not easy to find, it's managed to be preserved all the way till now. It's kind of like a little hidden treasure. It's already 10 o'clock in the morning now, and it's time for the ancient Beijing Music Performance. Look at the performers. They are all wearing Chinese classical costumes, and those hats look like they're in the style of the Tang Dynasty. The Beijing music of Zhihua Temple actually came from the court music of the Ming Dynasty. The main pieces performed were brought out of the imperial palace by that eunuch Wang Zhen, and it's been passed down for over 500 years. During its development, it combined with Chinese folk music and Buddhist music to form this really unique musical style. It's amazing that it has endured and evolved over such a long period. The main instruments used in the performance are like this: cloud gongs, flute, tube, the bamboo shell, and also the drum. The melody it plays is just so ethereal and simple, and it still keeps the style from the Tang and Song dynasties. These performers were picked out from the folks by previous ones, and then they were taught all the skills. It's been passed down to the 28th generation by now. During the teaching, they've got to learn the 5 musical skills in Chinese classical music, and then recite the lyrics of the Beijing music. Only when they can recite hundreds of those Beijing musical lyrics really well can they start learning to play with the musical instruments. is because these performers have been passing it down from one generation to the next that we're able to enjoy this cult music that's over 500 years old even today. Wow, so we have went around the whole Zhihua Temple, and we think it was so amazing. Yeah, and
刚才听到这个智帕寺导游的讲解，就是觉得古代的时候那些技艺真的是，就是真的是令人深思，就是怎么能在古代的时候，他们就能想到这些超高的智慧，对，来比如说做一些建筑，然后使得几百年之后还能保存得很好。这个是一个很永久值得思考的话题。
Yeah, right, right. I agree with that because actually the temple was built about 600 years old, right?
对，600年差不多。
600年，
差不多。
So, but the architecture and the drawing design and the Buddhism, all of it were reserved really great. So I think it's really amazing, and we don't know why could all of this could be kept like this. So yeah.
然后我们还听到了那个京乐京乐的是叫京乐吗？京乐的那个表演。这个导游说，它现在是一个非物质文化遗产。
Yeah. Actually, we just heard of the 京乐. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's just a kind of music from the ancient. Yeah, and
就是他们可以从很小的时候就是开始学这个技艺，然后他们也不知道什么时候可以学出来这个，觉得很好，然后他们就是秉承了一种对这种文化的热爱，然后从小就开始努力学习，然后到今天传承下来这门技艺。
对，而且刚才导游好像说很难，
对，很难，
很多个那种。
因为它就是不同于咱们听到那种哆来咪发嗦，他们就是相当于那种工商绝止语。
对，就是那种中国古代的音符 ，right，
对，然后作为一个现代人，他们要从就是从古代人的那种思想，就是学这种音乐，并把他们就是练习得很娴熟，然后一代一代传承到今天。
对，它还能保留下来，而且好像是也是口口相传。
是这个也要归功于中国的这种非物质文化遗产保护的这种大力的宣传。如果没有这样的保护，我觉得这样的也是
非常难，
是传承起来的。 就是
很难。
因为一定要有人一直在做这个事情。
是的，是的，是的。就yes, there's a lot of people in China. They keep doing this kind of thing. They to inherit the very ancient thing, the music or the architecture or some design, art, crafts, all of these things. And yeah, I think it's really cool. We ended up getting a stamp of Zhihua Temple on our tickets, and I really love it. It was so cute. After that, we are going to walk around Beijing Hutongs, and we will show you guys what we get into. Actually, now we have made it to our last destination. A lot of hutong here, and there are a lot of cute stores. I'll show you cute stores, and I think it's really interesting. We're gonna to hop in and out of these stores and find something interesting. We are hopping in and out of the stores that we wanted to see, and they really do have some amazing stores and beautiful storefronts. And one of our first stores was into the antique store. They have some individual booths there. There were ancient Chinese copper coins, porcelain pieces in all sorts of shapes, rings, earrings inlaid with turquoise and coral, necklaces and bracelets with agate. There were even Buddha statues, ritual implements, and tanka from Tibetan Buddhism. They're really, really pretty. So after that, we continued on our path to walk around the hutongs. It's super easy for out-of-town people to get lost in the hutongs of Beijing when they first get here without checking the navigation. You know, all these hutongs, big and small, are all tangled up with each other. I really got to say admire the couriers and delivery workers here. You know, they've got a bunch of delivery orders and have to plan out reasonable routes according to how far away the user's addresses are. I mean, it's just so hard to imagine how they manage to do that. It seems like such a tough job, but they always seem to get it done somehow.
小东西，过来。哟，谁呀？你是谁呀？不叫我啊？叫我啊？哎，没有啊。
一个吃不了，吃
是吧？这按照无所能的。
对。你要什么？我给你带一张来。哎。
I'm just crazy about the hutongs of old Beijing, cause here you won't see any pedestrians rushing around or hurried like. Instead, it's all these old folks chatting away in a really laid-back way while soaking up the sun. And there are kids playing and having a great time, running around and having fun. And when I'm in the hutongs, I feel like my own pace has just naturally slowed down. It's such a nice and relaxing place. There are actually many interesting places in the hutongs of old Beijing. You know, every corner seems to have something cool waiting for you to discover. The front courtyard gate is just full of historical marks. You know, this kind of gate was called Barbarian Gate way back in ancient times. During the Qing dynasty, this style of gate was mainly used by the Han people. Back then, the noble Manchus usually called Han people barbarian, and that's how they got its name. At a street corner, I spotted a coffee shop with a Western style. You know, when you look at it compared to all the Chinese buildings around it, it really stands out and looks so unique. It's kind of cool to see something different like that in the middle of all the traditional stuff. The boss of the roadside car repair store gave us this friendly reminder. He said, "Don't wave your hands around or make any big gestures while the technician is doing the repair, or you might get tagged." It sounds like a technician got a real short fuse. It's kind of funny. We ended up getting a handcraft experience hall in a courtyard houses, and we did hop into it, and they've got a lot of really great classic handcraft experience. They really knock it out of the park with like the whole vibe of the place. There are all kinds of things there, like painting Beijing opera masks, making traditional clay figurines, doing mother-of-pearl inlay, making Cuisine enamel, and paper cutting and so on. And here's the cool part. You can't just go and see these traditional Chinese intangible cultural heritages. You can actually experience the fun of making them with your own hands. It's really, really awesome. We ended up doing mother-of-pearl inlay. This technique actually dates back to the Zhou dynasty. First, break the shells of snails, regular shells, and mussels into pieces of different sizes, then grind them into smooth, thin slices. After that, put them together to make patterns like flowers, plants, people, birds, and bees. And then you lay these patterns onto the surfaces of wooden stuff, ground things, and gold items. The mother-of-pearl inlay has all sorts of colors, and when it's used to decorate things made of different materials, it just looks especially fancy and delicate. It sounds a little bit cruel, so now in order to protect animals, colorful plastic fragments are used instead of snail shells. I mean, it's a good thing, because we don't want to harm any animals just for making these nice patterns. And these plastic beads can also make things look just as nice. The way I'm making it this time is like this. First, I pick out the colorful fragments that I like. Then I use glue to stick those colorful fragments into the grooves of the mold so that they form the pattern I want. Finally, I put a layer of fixing glue on the surface of the mold and then shine ultraviolet rays on it. That way, the colorful fragments get sealed inside permanently. Teacher's help, we finally got it done. I made a hairpin and Amelia made a brooch. We're planning to give them to our best friends. It's actually quite fun to do it this way.
拍上了吗？
拍着。
你在录悠悠。
刚才体验了1个小时、1个多小时的罗甸镶嵌，就是一种古代的那个发饰的一个非遗，这个手工。最大的感受就是古代的那种上工局的，他们的真的是真心不容易，他们的工作。
就是因为太累了，我们埋着头 在那里做手工，然后要把这个贝壳一片一片的镶嵌在模具上，然后真的非常的。
而且这个过程中，就是这个镶嵌的过程中，这个模具这个贝壳它不可以太厚，也不可以高出一部分，这样的话，在后续的封胶过程中会更加困难一点。
But I think it's also really interesting because the handcraft can give you how to say can give you something because you can pay more attention to this what you're doing and it requires patience and you can choose when you're doing that, and after you have done that you can feel that you do a really great thing. It's interesting, it's crazy, I think. Alright, we are gonna head over to meet Amelia's friend Helen from Cuba. They got to know each other when they were studying in Cuba, and then Helen came to Beijing to study. Well, recently, Amelia just graduated and came back to China. So we went out to have a meal with Helen and just talking about how he's been feeling while staying in China. It must be really nice chatting with him. OK， 所以这是你第一次来北京吗？
对啊，是我的第一次来到北京，对对，很好的，怎么说的第一个印象，第一个 impression，
印象
对，第一个印象。
那你都去哪儿了？现在北京？
我觉得我去过很少的地方，因为大部分的时间我都在北语里面，北京语言大学里面。对，但是我去过北海公园去过故宫。
故宫也去了。
对，我觉得漂亮，
故宫
传统的。
还有长城。
还没有去。我觉得是很重要，应该
要去吗？但那个很累。
很累，
太长了，
很长了。
对，要爬山。那要这样的话，那其实还能在北京去挺多地方的哈。你在这边还要再待到明年了。明年
哦，对，
明年，
对。
那你要说到这个，我想知道，就是你要学中文的话，你有什么想分享的吗？就是怎么学中文
啊？我怎么学中文？我在古巴的时候，开始的时候有点困难，因为我没有电脑，也没有手机，我只在看书。对，看书，但是有中国老师的嘛，所以我觉得我在老师的帮助下，
老师是中国人。
对，
就是孔子学院
的
对，
老师。
孔子学院，他们从北京语言大学来到孔子学院。我现在学习的方法就是看视频，在网上看视频，我觉得听音乐这样的。但是我喜欢看怎么说？我自己喜欢的视频，我有感兴趣的内容。对，如果是很无聊，没有这个对动力。对。
那看视频的时候要看字幕吗？
对，要看。对，看字幕。对。
哇，那我感觉中文还是不是太好学。 但你学了这有多长时间了
我觉得3年多左右啊。
？3年多，哇，那能学到这样，已经很厉害了。
啊，不是，
你知道我的西班牙语学了5年，然后还是
但是我觉得你的阅读能力很高，我觉
因为
得对吗？
中国的学生总是看书。
对，这个也是很好的学习方法。对，我觉得更方便。
那为什么开始想学中文呢？就是想来这边看看，是想来中国，所以才学的中文吗？
我开始学习中文的时候，我没想到我可以
来中国。
对，这个是我最好的，我觉得最好的经验。我觉得，我在古巴的梦想，我在古巴的梦想是来到中国读书。对，
哇塞，
对，真的，因为没想到可以获得这个机会。
但是中国的政府会提供给你们奖学金。
对，对，这个是空军的奖学金啊。
那但是在这边的生活费还是要自己去承担的。
生活费，我说的生活费，每个月，
生活费得你自己去交。
中国政府
中国政府去交。
对，因为在大学里面，有的人，有的学生自己付钱，对吗？自己付钱，他们的住在的地方，
对，
他的作业，对，但是我不一样，因为是空气学院的，对，不一样的。
所以你来这里学习是免费的。
免费的
好，也包括机票，所有的。
对，飞机票也是免费的，
太好了，
非常贵，
太好了，那真的太好了，我也好想。
穿越明月光
于是地上
就头发明月，
对，
低头思故乡。
哇，OK， 咱们先去吃饭，
我们继续发。
Worth mentioning is that to give Heaven a warm welcome as a host, we got some little gifts ready for him. Here's a cute panda door and a little lion pendant. We hope he will have an awesome time studying and living here in China. It was so sweet to have a great gathering with Heaven, and thank you for sharing a lot with us. It was already really late at night, and our get-together was over. Right before we said goodbye to each other, we even learned that Cuban way of greeting where you kiss each other on the cheek. It was kind, sweet, and interesting. And that wraps up our time in Beijing. That was such a fun day. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you like, remember to like, subscribe, follow all the things. And we will see you guys in the next one. Bye!